So welcome everyone, and thank you very much for joining us to this very exciting panel with my panelists. And there are so many things that we can discuss about 2024. It was an amazing year, and looking forward to 2025. So with my panelists, we would like to make it a bit more interactive. So if anyone has any kind of question, please join into the conversation and ask us all those questions that you always wanted to ask us. We've got an amazing set of panelists here, and I think it is a good opportunity to pick their brains. There is so much knowledge on this stage, so that's why I would like to encourage everyone to ask all those questions. So my name is Victoria Scholtes from PSP Angels. It's a payment consultancy company, and we argue that payment should not belong to finance because it affects every part of the organization. So we've got this unique approach and also an institute where we train payments and banking specialists, because accountants are simply unable to make the relevant decisions over payment and banking. I'm an accountant. I know what I'm talking about. So I would like to encourage my panelists to introduce themselves really shortly and say a couple of words about themselves. Pavel?
Hi, guys. Okay, adjustment to the microphone. Pavel, so I'm with Scope Markets, been CEO of Scope Markets for 2 years now. Joined originally 2021, did a number of things there, and yeah, I've been in the industry for since 2013. Before that, been in various other industries, online gaming, e-commerce, and so on. Trade on the side, so have investments, so kind of like have skin in the game in addition to being in my role. Yeah, I look forward to talking to my fellow panelists and the moderator here today.
Exciting. Matt?
Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Smith. I'm the CEO of EC Markets. I have been in the industry for longer than I'd like to admit, since 1999. I have been running EC Markets for the last 5 years. We are multi-regulated. We have our headquarters in the UK, but we also have offices in Limassol, in Auckland, and we're regulated in Australia, New Zealand, Seychelles, Mauritius, UK, South Africa. Yeah, and I'd like to say hi to my fellow panelists, and Victoria, thank you for hosting us.
Sure thing. Gerald?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. My name is Jerry Perez. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Interactive Brokers out of the United Kingdom, where opportunity meets accessibility. Interactive Brokers has been in business now for 47 years. Our market capitalization is $62 billion, and we have a public float on NASDAQ IBKR. Our mission is to empower investors to trade on over 150 different markets. We've got customers in 200 different countries, 35 more sovereign countries to go, and we have a trifecta.
Wow. Jay?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jay, the CEO of Infinox Brand. This is our 15-year anniversary, so we've been offering our product for the last 15 years. We offer our services across from retail clients all the way through to the institutional side. I'd like to think very customer focused and quite successful. Nowhere near as successful as Interactive Brokers, but maybe one day. Thank you all, and yeah, looking forward to this.
Great, and let's start, jump right in the middle. What was your proudest moment of 2024? Is there something that you would really like to highlight, that it was really good and you're happy to remember that moment? Who would like to start? Jerry.
Our biggest highlight is that we opened up an office here in Dubai, and it just goes to show our commitment to connecting to the major financial hubs around the world. Unlike other entities where they basically just offer you a platform or different services, Interactive Brokers from day one has always been central, and that we're the members of the exchange. We build our own technology. We have about 14 offices worldwide. And that office here in the MENA region, specifically in the UAE, is one of the biggest highlights that we've had, as we've always looked forward to it. And we're looking forward to meeting you and doing business with you.
Guys?
Yeah, I mean, for us, getting our ASIC and our FMA license in New Zealand were huge. To go with our FCA license, it obviously adds enormous credibility to the group. So that's incredibly exciting for us. We also added our South African license, which we're trying to work out how best to use at this moment in time. And we're in the process of our ESCA application. We've been approved in principle. So as Jerry said, it's very important to be present, and we appreciate that, and we will be regulated and present here.
Jay?
I think actually our highlight, or biggest highlight, was probably taking a step back, not innovating this year, but actually taking a step back and consolidating our business, focusing on governance, as a central theme around what we do. And ironically, the results are we're back to posting a record year across all our KPI metrics. So I'd say a highlight for us was going back to a customer-focused approach and simplifying what we provide. So not great technology, but just good business.
No, sometimes it's very, very important just to step back and strengthen whatever you have to look in the future. Ava?
For us, we just actually completed a rebrand, so that's been work behind the scenes for a year and a half. So, and we have our head of marketing here in the room as well. So, not to single out, but yeah. So that was a pretty big moment for us. We also, just to feed off what Jared said in terms of Dubai office, so we opened a small services office here in preparation for ESCA license acquisition as well. So very much kind of looking to expand in the region, and so just kind of expand our product portfolio around that. So these are the let's say the two big things this year.
Amazing. So a lot of you are actually expanding as well. What do you think about the market here? Why was it a very important part to expand? And Matt and Jay, maybe you can reflect that why do you think that being global, it really matters, and all of the licenses that, for example, Matthew mentioned, that why do you think that the global exposure is very important instead of focusing on one market only? Who would like to start? Go.
I mean, the MENA region is one of the fastest growing regions around the world. Regulation has changed, the culture has changed, the individual is more educated and is open to digitalization. This market is the breath of tomorrow, and that's why we made a commitment to open up an office in here. We are looking to extend into other countries in this region, and it really has to do with, again, the openness and the availability of education for the customer to change. And we're really looking forward to it. And if you're not in the MENA region, I think you have a problem.
Nice.
I would echo that. I think it's pretty obvious that the UAE is the next capital of the world. And I think it's a great thing. As Gerald mentioned, the regulatory framework has come a long way. It is a very progressive regulation now. It is very engaging, and it sets the right tone for us as market participants and for clients. So this is definitely the place to be. In terms of a global approach, I think the times of being a big company based far away from our clients is gone, even though with technology, the interaction and the touch with your clients is so important. And we feel that more and more. So having this global presence, this global approach, really, really important now. And we respect culture. I think the finance markets in the past were about one culture. Now there are so many different cultures engaging. You have to be more local, so we have to be global to be there. I think that's the way it's got to be, and I can't see that changing soon.
Correct.
Yeah, from my side, I would say what I've seen in the last, not even 1 year, but a couple of years, is that the industry that used to be, let's say, Western Europe, United Kingdom, we're seeing a shift towards the East. So a lot of the main players have now sort of moved towards the Middle East. So you always had a high net worth and sort of just a segment of, let's say, potential clients over here. But now I feel like even the older clients that we used to find in Europe, a lot of them are now here. So, and yeah, what the other panelists have said, the regulation, the openness, cryptocurrencies, there's a lot of sort of growing sector here, payments, I'm sure Victoria, around that. So, we just feel that a lot of that action is starting to move, east, and UAE is a great base for that.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, to put it bluntly, Dubai is in a wonderful geographic location, right? It's in the middle of the East and the West. So having a presence here makes total sense. The UK, having removed itself from Europe, has made it a difficult place to do business in this industry. Having a European license isn't particularly useful anymore. Passporting has been almost eliminated. So where do you situate yourself if you're limited? And Dubai is open, it's welcoming, it's a good place to do business, and it's a good place for us to be located.
Amazing. And I agree with you because someone told me that now the Middle East is what Europe was 10 years ago. All the innovation is here, all the regulator innovations are here. People try to see that what could be the best for the area. And Pavel, you mentioned an interesting part, the crypto. So what do you think about what happened with the crypto in 2024? I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people expected a lot from crypto, but somehow it's just not making us rich yet. How do you see that? What's happening in 2025 with crypto?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a I don't want to necessarily pass judgment on what's going to happen in the markets, but I think there's a bit of a, because, crypto, we like it or not, is still a very risk-on asset. I think we've seen the stock market has sort of recovered from its 2022 slump and actually surprised a lot of people because a lot of people were expecting a very deep recession and sort of like a follow-up, but that has really turned around in October 2020, like basically October of last year. I think crypto hasn't, maybe aside from Bitcoin, hasn't really seen its moment. So I think it's still to come. That would be my, let's say, bet. But I think the most important, trend from a more sort of corporate side is the fact that a lot of payment providers are now starting to integrate crypto into their workflows. And even if you're talking to companies that are, traditionally credit cards, MasterCard, Visa, and so on, there's sort of this kind of like hybrid crypto, fiat approach that's going on. So you are depositing through MasterCard, Visa, but actually it's a crypto operation and settlement happening in the background. So I think that has permeated a lot of the payment networks that we have seen, at Scope Markets.
Okay.
Yeah, crypto was originally used sort of 10 years ago and going forward as a way of onboarding customers, right? As a tool for bringing new people into the market. And then the brokers were told that you can't offer this. It's already massively leveraged inherently. So if you offer leverage on leverage, it's a terminal case of client kill. So what's crypto really useful for in our industry? It's because it's easy to make payments, right? It's easy for us to take cryptocurrencies. Countries restrict movement of money. They use their banking system to do it. It's not what customers want. Crypto allows them to move it more freely. More payment service providers allow them to do it, and more payment service providers work with us to enable their clients to deposit. So that's, for me, the main attraction of it.
Guys, what's the future of crypto?
Crypto originally started a very long time ago. People don't realize that the first time crypto was used to make a purchase was a pizza, believe it or not. And this happened something like 17 years ago. That was the first time that crypto actually hit the market. However, looking today and looking tomorrow, it's not necessarily what the consumer wants, rather it's what the regulators accept. If you look at the largest geographical regions around the world, the regulators are very prohibitive and create the barriers for having crypto being the fiat of tomorrow. So until that is smoothened out, you're not going to see crypto go like this. Rather, it's going to be very incremental. However, the genie is out of the bottle. Crypto is here to stay, and you'll be seeing more innovation in the coming days.
I'd agree with that. And just building on that a little bit further, the blockchain is opening up this frontier for how we can make payments. And there is a big difference between what the blockchain is now and what governments and regulators are going to be comfortable with in the future. And as we progress, we will merge those differences together. And just generally, the financial system, the payment scope is going to change. And it's going to become much more efficient. We know that from the past. Unless we become efficient, stay efficient, innovation will drive it out. And I think the blockchain is going to set that as a new benchmark for payments and transfers in the future. So, 100%, that's definitely the way it's going to go.
Yeah, I agree, because we had a lot of clients in the past who were using crypto and they jeopardized the traditional banking setup by introducing crypto, just a small percentage for the volume. Now, obviously, it's regulated. It's looked at the banks in a different way. So now it can really complete the payment strategy and the payment plan globally. But when we are talking about crypto, obviously we need to talk about fraud as well and scams and all of those creative individuals who would like to take advantage of the opportunities, not just in a crypto way, but we have seen some significant increase in terms of scams and fraud. How do you see that? What is your way of combating again?
So the unfortunate part about our marketplace around the world is that fraud and scamming have increased exponentially. And a lot of it has to do with the technology that these scammers and fraudsters are using. For you as the investor, it's very important that you're educated and that you make sure you validate outreach programs from third parties. All my colleagues here are from very reputable firms and ourselves. However, the marketplace is under threat. If the reputation of the marketplace is disrupted, you as the individual are not going to buy from us. However, we as an industry have to work together to make sure that you're educated of what scams exist. I strongly suggest that you go out as an investor before you accept that email, before you accept that call. Look on regulators' websites. Make sure that you validate who's on the other end, because if you lose your money, you're not probably going to get it back. And that's the unfortunate part that the industry is seeing with the growth, that the scammers and the fraudsters are targeting you. So make sure that you make it a focus to be educated before you become a victim.
I would probably say that as CEOs, we are responsible for ensuring that our firms operate in a way that stops financial crime from taking place. And heavy is the head that wears the crown. And it's for us to create governance, and it's for us to create policies and processes and monitor and improve and enhance them to make sure we don't leave space for this kind of thing. And if we can do that, then we have a very valid and thriving industry. And if we don't, then we know exactly what will happen to our industry, and that will be our responsibility. So I think we should take a lot of responsibility for that. We don't have to wait for regulators to tell us what's right and wrong.
How do you do it personally?
Hell of a lot of governance, a hell of a lot of process and policy. And I think the common sense approach is the best approach. You know what happens in your firm. If something doesn't look right, if it doesn't smell right, it isn't right. And that's a very simple principle for us to follow.
Yeah, I mean, Jay works in the UK, he's FCA regulated, so am I. And you apply those principles across your whole group, irrespective of the different licenses that you hold and where you onboard your customers. Really, if you apply the rules correctly, fraud, AML breaches, they're very hard for clients to actually avoid. There's a lot of information in the world out there that you can find on your customers. It's whether or not you care what they tell you. Now, we care, and we care because every case of fraud affects the industry and every single client that you hold. So it doesn't matter if you onboard them in Mauritius, the Seychelles. You onboard them like you're onboarding them in the strictest possible locations. And for me, it's pretty basic, right? You don't need to cheat the system to be a good broker. You really don't. So we work with our regulators, we work with the systems in place, and everyone's safer, happier, and hopefully more profitable from it.
Pavel?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, crypto is a double-edged sword. I mean, in a way, the reason it was invented, it was just after 2008 crisis, global financial crisis, and it kind of gives you the promise of self-custody, which, the underlying crypto does. So in a way, the reason it was created is because, whatever financial transaction you do today, if you hold your money in a bank, you're subject to counterparty risk. Bank goes out of business, your money is gone, right? So crypto, in a way, was created so that you can have the keys to your own finances. The issue with that is that a lot of people don't understand what it means to self-custody, and a lot of people don't take precautions. So I would say, scams, absolutely, smart contracts. There's a lot of different attack vectors that don't exist in traditional finance because you have the security and safety of that bank, but ultimately, that bank is just another counterparty. So the only reason that your money is safe is the reputation of that bank. So I'd say the biggest thing you can do, in crypto is to, education, very important. And then whoever you're, doing business with, if you are holding your crypto, let's say with a broker, then I completely agree with what others have said. on the panel, it's the licenses, it's the jurisdiction. It gives you that assurance because there are regulatory requirements that you have to comply with in order to provide these services to your clients.
And what do you think about AI? Because it looks like that AI is the elephant in the room. We can't really avoid talking about it. It enhances the scams and the fraud, but also it enhances our processes. How do you see that? Is it a challenge? Is it an opportunity? How do you maximize the opportunity and try to find the challenge?
So AI has actually been around for a very long time. If we go back to the 1945s, Alan Turing, famous mathematician, figured out AI, and it's been around. However, you've had a renaissance with respect to AI being in front of the consumer and all sorts of tools and innovation coming to market. Now, AI is embedded in the future of this industry. At Interactive Brokers, we've been around for 47 years. We've embedded AI in the customer journey. We have chatbots and we have other mechanisms and tools. But in order for us to remain competitive, we're going to have to take AI to the next level. And we're very dedicated to research and development. And I really think that you, as the consumer, are going to benefit from that. You're going to see a lot of innovation for that customer journey to be faster, to cut down the costs. And that's yet to come. However, going back, looping back to the issue of fraud, it's also that the fraudsters are going to use it. So it has a double-edged sword, but AI has to be a part of your business plan. If not, you're not going to go too much further.
Yeah, I agree, a lot with what Jerry just said. In terms of like AI, we probably don't call it AI internally. We just call it systems, right? So systems that we use to identify fraudulent activity, people who are trying to abuse what we do. So we have that in place, that's scanning constantly. But also we use it for compliance. We use it for, as Jerry mentioned, sort of chatbot, customer support technology. All that is very important. But I think from the client's perspective, AI has been there for a long time, right? There are some very good firms who provide, for example, news sentiment, and it scratches a lot of stories and it posts them to the client and it gives them an idea of kind of where the world's thinking and what people are thinking. And that is only going to get stronger, is only going to get better. We want to embrace that. I think it will help our clients massively. But also just the operational benefits will help our clients because it will reduce our costs and therefore we can reduce our spreads.
So it's more benefit than challenge, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think AI does an incredible job of telling us, based on what's happened in the past, what is probably going to happen next. And if you use that in business, particularly around, let's talk about governance or financial crime in particular, it builds really important data sets, action sets for us to understand where things might not work well, but you can't replace it with, it goes back to knowledge, skill sets, common sense. You still have to have the man in front of the machine. And so when you use AI in terms of financial safety of the business, you still have to be thinking about regulation, etc. yourself. But AI is incredibly powerful to condense down and make that process much easier and much clearer to see.
So again, benefits other than challenge.
All benefit, only a risk if you're lazy, but all benefit as far as I see.
Great, Pavel.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I think AI is a very important tool, but it's so anything that requires some sort of automation or the process that is being repetitive processes. So that's where AI comes in. We employ it in our business, for customer KYC, know your KYB, source fund verification. So these types of things. I know some firms we haven't started, but we are looking into AI managed portfolios as well. So that's something that we could, offer to our clients. And I know some firms are successfully employing it. So something that where you have an algorithmic, sort of portfolio that is managed by AI, and you can see the statistics and returns and so on. So that's something that's coming into fold. But yeah, essentially, just enhancing and allowing you to do things that you're doing well at scale.
And another interesting phenomenon happened quite recently, which is the prop trading firms. And what do you think about it? Is it just an innovation? Is it blatantly avoiding regulation and coming up with something that the traditional brokerages shouldn't do? What is your opinion about it? Where it's going to be in next year?
I'm very uncomfortable with it. It's not new. Prop trading isn't new. But I'm uncomfortable with the core concept, which is saying to a client, if you pass this challenge, you will have $1 million account. And just fundamentally, the client doesn't have $1 million account. And I know it's very controversial, and I'm going to take a lot of criticism when I walk out of here, but I'm just not comfortable with it yet. But clients are interested, and technology providers are producing technology that makes this work. So over time, I think the product will develop, and there's definitely a scope for it to become much more prevalent or relevant to online trading. But at the moment, I'm just not comfortable with the proposition.
I'm so glad you said that. I don't know, the four of us, I don't think any of us have a prop arm. Would that be correct? Okay. That's not to say that it's a bad idea. I think everybody who trades wants to make money, right? And if you want to make money, then what's wrong with someone backing you to do it? What's wrong with you beating a challenge and becoming an ace trader? But why would you want to share your profit with a broker? I just don't fundamentally get it. The broker should give you all the tools you need to be able to make money as a proprietary trader. All of our clients are proprietary traders. So I don't understand fundamentally the concept. I understand the marketing angle. It's unregulated. It's, I think is it the Volcker Act, which enabled firms to be unregulated, to do prop trading, but not do it within their banks, something like that. So it's another angle that's being exploited. And I use that term poignantly. Clients are being exploited to open these accounts, but ultimately they're going to get sold to a different kind of CFD product. So really, until I'm convinced otherwise by clients, right? This is a client-driven business. If someone tells me I have to offer a prop product to make them feel good with me, then I'll do it. But none of my clients want it, and I don't really get it. So sorry if you're a prop business. Maybe approach one of my colleagues, not me, at the event. Cheers.
Jerry?
I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian because I was a former proprietary trader in the Chicago markets. That's how I started my career. Yes, proprietary trading has been around for a very long time. If there's the right balance of oversight and management, and proprietary is another tool, an opportunity for individuals or companies to take advantage of growing, of innovating. United States markets, all over the world, you had open outcry markets. Over 10% of those markets were proprietary trading firms. And out of those 10%, over 30% have grown today to be the existing markets centers around the world. We at Interactive Brokers started off as Timber Hill. It was the largest proprietary, privately held market maker in the world. We were highly managed, highly regulated. We pivoted our strategy in 1993 to become Interactive Brokers in a $62 billion entity. So we do service proprietary firms. However, their assessment, their oversight, and before they come through the door, we do a lot of due diligence. Yes, proprietary trading could be exploited, and the individual can. However, it's really up to the industry, it's up to the regulator in order to offset that. But I believe that proprietary trading should exist as long as it's managed and oversight very well.
Pavel?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just around transparency and data. So if the proprietary trading firms that are providing services, I'd love them, to publish a little bit of information of how many of these, proprietary traders that they, invite to join, how many of them pass the test. So, I mean, I think as long as there's information and there is an oversight, I think, there's nothing wrong, with it as such. But I think it's how the industry goes about it. Obviously, it's not regulated at the moment. There are talks of, regulators starting to look at it a bit more. But for me, it's it's just with any financial product. Financial product derivatives, the same thing, like how it's marketed, how it's presented, how the statistics, what is being given to the end customer. So it's just really information around that. If it's done in a fully transparent fashion, then and people know the risks and people understand what they're getting into, because that's where the industry gets. The whole industry gets, sometimes a pretty bad reputation because people lose money and they complain. But in reality, it's to do with the lack of knowledge. It's getting into something that people don't fully understand. So it's kind of like proprietary trading is sort of like the latest, let's call it, not necessarily new concept, but innovation in terms of retail trading. And I just don't think that we have studied or there's enough information about it.
And why do you think it became so popular quite recently? So, as you mentioned, it's around for quite a while. Why now? Why the prop? Why so many companies started to deal with it just quite recently, and we didn't stay in that very small percentage like what happened in the past?
Would you like a really controversial view?
Please.
I think back end of 22, 23 was a really tough year. And I think a lot of brokerages struggled. And they clutched at straws and came up with an easy way to get clients and get some cash flow going. That's my opinion, and I think as the market, the industry returns, you're probably going to see the CFD prop world fade away until a better proposition product. Very controversial, but that's how I see it at the moment.
What do you think, guys?
It's a slightly lazy opinion of mine. I'm just in full agreement. I think there's a lot of marketing around it. I don't think there's as many clients as it looks. We've not seen the demand for it. So maybe we move on.
There has been a lot of, let's say, if we go back to 2020, COVID days, a lot of people were stuck at home and finding new ways to to spend time. If we think about the last 4 years, I mean, traditionally, Forex CFDs have been around for a long time. Options futures in the US been for a long time. But, we've seen stock trading, retail investors going in, options trading in the US, retail investors coming in, cryptocurrencies, they have been around, but the real mainstream started around, football stadiums being sponsored by crypto and so on. So I almost feel like the industry is getting tired of the old concepts. And we know that as well, Forex, CFDs, any kind of leverage trading is high risk. I still don't think that people really understand what risk means, in that example. But the risks of that has been publicized for over a decade, right? Whereas with something like prop trading, it's something relatively new. It's essentially taking that risk, from a forum where it was highly publicized and channeling into something that hasn't caught media's attention quite yet. Obviously, people the desire is to go and try to make returns. And so if you have statistics of 80% of retail traders lose money, you're probably not going to go and open an account. But if there's a new promise over there, we're you just have to pass a test, just cheap course, then, right? It just naturally attracts you more. So, yeah. So I just don't think that the industry has covered that aspect, in the detail, in the extent of detail it has covered, Forex and CFDs and some of the other derivatives.
Interesting. Jerry?
So out of the United Kingdom, since 2005, we've been offering proprietary trading accounts. However, let's be very clear. Let me differentiate here. Proprietary trading, which I think is the negative side, is maybe when an educational company or a third party go out and try to entice an individual to start to trade after investing money. Yes, that should be overseen very carefully and managed because there's a lot of exploitation in that run. With respect to our proprietary offering, we go through privately held companies which are in a very highly regulated jurisdiction, and we assess them for the capability of what they put pen to paper before we let them out. And today we service proprietary trading firms in over 200 countries. However, we try to differentiate from the one that I think is the one that has the very challenge and risk, and I understand why that is very contentious.
What do you think about innovation? Because getting new clients are getting more and more expensive. Forex CFDs is there for a while. Is our industry still sexy? Is our industry still interesting enough to get new clients in? How do you get new clients? What is your innovation? What do you think about? Is it just something which don't rock the boat? We are still making money, but we are not innovating, or Or is there something else for our industry in the future?
At Interactive Brokers, innovation has always been a habit. We always invest in a lot of our resources in research and development. That's why our platform has been around for so long, and it offers 150 different market centers from different multi-asset classes, as well as tools that go across portfolio margining. But it's really the part of the innovation that I see coming foremost is driven by different geographical regions of the customer. The customer is changing around the world, specifically here in the MENA region. Again, you are empowered now to have more transparent information. The regulators are giving you the opportunity to trade in international markets. But as innovative is for these exchanges in these marketplaces is to let the foreign investor come in. And I believe in the MENA region that is going to be one of the true innovations when the exchanges in the MENA region allow the outside investor to easily trade in. That will benefit you because it will provide you liquidity, lower costs, and more opportunity. So that's the innovation that I see for this region.
Interesting. Jay?
I think FX and CFD firms are in a rather precarious place because we're in the middle of the market. On one side, you have retail apps. We've seen that, as mentioned earlier, during COVID. They've done some fantastic business, great product, focused on a particular client base. On the other side, you've got Interactive Brokers for the more qualified, professional, individual traders that have all the product suite that you can trade in the world. And FX and CFD firms on high leverage are stuck in the middle. Without gold, a bit of Eurodollar, maybe dollar CAD, I don't know how much volume we have left. And it's very important for us to understand that either we go right and get closer to the products that Interactive Brokers are offering, and that requires a lot of technology, it requires a lot of communication between the firms because we don't understand their product completely. Or we go left and become very technology, innovative, app-based, and start appealing to a wider client base. So in terms of innovation, I think we're an important part to understand where we want to take our firms and which side of the market we want to go to. Because we have the marketing power, we have the sales power, we certainly have the budgets, but we've got to think about what our core product becomes over the next few years.
Yeah, I think the industry has matured in the last few years, but I ultimately think as well that the multi-asset world is where we're going to end up in one way or form. I don't think that 10 years from, well, I don't know about 10 years, but I don't think that in the long term you can get away with what a lot of the, let's say, brokers are offering leverage CFDs. And that's kind of like it. I mean, I think the demand for these products will always be there, like we've seen in the futures market. The original clients were the airlines, were the kind of like big farming sort of conglomerates. Why? Because they need to hedge. So it's the speculation that came a little bit later, and I think that tends to shift, like was in the futures market, came to CFDs just because it's easy to construct and offer out prop trading. So I ultimately think, and also looking at the trends, consumer trends of the past, 5 years, especially after COVID, like the mobile apps and everything is available. But people want, more value today. Like, I mean, Jay, I agree, like with what he said in terms of gold, Eurodollar. This is where the majority of the, let's say traditional brokerages volumes lie. But I ultimately think the client wants more today. The client wants banking. The client wants, access to stock market. The client wants access to some of the government bonds, all in one place. And I think like we've seen some players have started, kind of moving in that direction. We've seen some of them have really, demonstrated, very impressive growth. So I think like all the brokers really should start thinking about, getting exposure to that and start adding that into their inventory.
Matt?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm probably a bit more positive. I actually think that the product that we've all been using for the last 20 odd years is still growing. This event is testament to that, right? 2 years ago, it was a lot smaller than this. So everywhere you go, this event is growing, whether it's Forex Expo or a different brand. And that's because everyone's got mobile phones, right? The product lends itself well to the sort of the growth of connectivity, of 4 or 5G connectivity. And it enables people to be aspirational, to make money outside of their current occupation. And then we've also got this amazing kind of infrastructure of payment service providers, which allow people to remove themselves from the standard banking sector, which restricts them from sending money to firms such as ours. And therefore, really, there's 7 billion people in the world, and a lot of them don't trade FX and CFDs. So there's a lot of opportunity. So I don't see that as a problem for us going forward. But I do also agree that in certain jurisdictions, especially Europe and the UK, investment is above speculation. People are beginning to look at investment more closely. You only have to look at the Revolut app, I think, went to the top 3 in the first 3 countries it launched in. And that's a super cool collaboration with CMC. Congratulations. And I think that is probably the way forward in the more developed markets where the regulators are closing down leverage and speculation. But that's just it's an honest opinion. But I don't see any reason to be negative about this product. I think it's still got a lot of growth left in it.
So we are good. Forex is not going anywhere. I would like to open the stage for questions from the audience. We have been discussing so many parts, and we got some insights now that how our panelists are thinking about the future. Does anyone have any question related to the topic? Anything to add or? Nothing? All right. So we were really, really clear. So my last question would be then education. So we mentioned a lot that the product, the prop trading, the crypto, the future, the AI, and everything somehow is related to education. How do you think your responsibility is affecting the industry as a whole from the educational perspective? How do you educate your clients, your team? And why do you think education is important?
We made a huge investment in educating the populace, not necessarily just our customers. We started something called the IBKR Campus. It's open free to everyone. We have partnered with different third parties, from exchanges to, let's say, some of our customers around the world. Education is a common denominator for any successful financial services company. If the individual is not educated, there's more opportunity for mistakes, and we're all about mitigating that problem for you. So education has to be at the forefront of every business model going forward. At Interactive Brokers, the IBKR Campus is now seen in over 7 different languages. It crosses into 200 different countries. It's a big part of our strategy for growth, as well as the customer journey being smooth and rewarding.
I'm quite pleased to see education being introduced as part of the regulatory framework, and we see that under the FCA with key information packs and things like that. That's a starting point. They're still very convoluted and complicated. I think a burden of education should come onto financial institutions to provide product information in an educating and informative way. I would like to see more market participants providing education, and I would like to see that education becoming under a governance or regulatory umbrella. I take a lot of information and knowledge from Instagram, and it makes me feel very smart, but I know it's really poor. So the same applies. With the great access to information and social media and all these great channels, we can communicate really well, but we have to communicate responsibly. And I'd like to see education becoming a formal part of our environment.
Yeah, make it a safe space for everyone. Pavel?
I'd say regulation as well. Education is key to, you want to have an educated customer, because an educated customer is a happy customer. Happy customer will bring more happy customers, and so on and so forth. So it's good for business. But on the customer side as well, like it's, if you know what you're doing, then you're likely to, transact more. You're likely to understand more. You're not likely to then blame the broker for the faults because oftentimes, and I know that's from personal experience as well, if you do make a decision that you don't fully understand, then it's, you want to pass the blame to the broker because, something happened. But in reality, like, you haven't taken the time to, to go through and educate yourself. So I think it's very, very important. I think brokers, like, if you want to be in this space as a corporate entity, you have to offer that. I also think that regulators have to look at what people are publishing out there, because there's a lot of like kind of safe educating or sort of self-proclaimed educators out there. So, and in reality, it's easy. And like you see this on Twitter, you see this on Instagram. A lot of people are going and giving trading advice and sort of getting away with a small disclaimer, which is, you know, like people are following these things. And obviously, it's a lot more engaging to follow somebody on Instagram than, you know, go through a boring, I don't know, 10-page manual on the brokerage side. But, you know, in reality, like I think like that's an aspect that the regulators probably have to take a look at, and I do think that it needs to be in some way kind of like examined professionally, standardized, so people, you know, understand before they before they engage in high risk, especially if they do a high risk activities like leverage trading.
Agree, Mac?
Yeah, I mean, so education is obviously key. As a firm, we have a very comprehensive suite of educational videos. Really, people should use their demo accounts before they start trading. It sounds really basic, but it's probably the best way of learning is practically putting into play what you intend on doing. It's a difficult one because I started in this industry in 1999, and it probably took me 2 weeks to understand the product that I was dealing with. Really properly to understand it, and I was in it 24 hours, right? So how can we expect people to fundamentally understand leverage within 24 hours or within a quick phone call? And I think it's incumbent on us as providers to give clients everything that they need to make them comfortable with the product. And if you don't do it, then the regulators rightly will probably come down on you. So yeah, it's fundamental, absolutely. Education is key, but where does it stop, right? Does it stop from introducing someone to leverage, introducing someone to a certain product, or do you continue to invest in it, provide good news, as we talked about earlier, some AI plugins? It's an ongoing thing, education, for brokers and for clients. So I think we work together, and it's a kind of a future-focused project.
I agree. We are fighting for that too, because there are so many like proclaimed payment experts and payment brokers without any kind of qualification or education or even a disclaimer giving advice of who to trust with your money. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for my panelists, and the stage is back to you.